Hello. Can you able to hear me? Yes, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to each one of you gathered here today for. Hello. A warm welcome to each one of you gathered here today for 9th Jethro Daniel Memorial Lecture, hosted by VT International in association with Vivanta Coimbatore. I welcome everyone joining us via live stream from different locations. It is truly a privilege to have all of us in one space, not just to listen, but to reflect, learn, and grow. Today's topic invites us into something meaningful, something all of us have experienced in different forms. So I request everyone to keep your heart and mind open to receive the insights and lessons that come through the trials and tests of human life. We are gathered here not just to remember the life that ended soon, but to celebrate a life that was meaningfully lived for 19 and a half years, and to reflect on how his impact continues. Yes, today we remember Jethro, a boy who lived with special abilities and unique challenges, not for what he could not be able to do, but for everything he did and for the light he shared with all of us. He found his voice in inspiring others to find theirs. Though his journey was brief, his influence was enduring. His poetry spoke when his voice could not, and his courage encouraged many to see beyond limitation. His life continues to remind us that ability lies not in physical strength, but in the power to touch hearts, shift perspectives, and inspire positive changes. Jethro Daniel Memorial Lecture began in 2015, the year of his demise. We hold this lecture once a year to bring in the sense of responsibility towards oneself and towards the society, and to make our journey in this earth a purposeful one. This lecture mainly aims to encourage individuals to discover their inner strengths and develop into vibrant, purposeful, and socially responsible members of their communities. Once again, I welcome you all. Vivanta Coimbatore has been our partner from the very beginning. They consider it as their opportunity to serve the community around them. And I want to acknowledge their generous hospitality to this lecture and willingness to work with us in every lecture that we have had. Now I welcome Mr. Naveen, F&B Manager of Vivanta Coimbatore, to begin this program with a welcome address.
Good evening to one and all. My name is Naveen. I have the food and beverage operations here at the hotel. On the behalf of the leadership management team and all my colleagues here at Vivanta, we would like to extend our deepest sympathy and sincere warm welcome to all of you joining this memorial ceremony tonight. We are deeply honored to host and to be part of this ceremony. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It is now time for us to listen the first lecture of the day. Before we begin, I would like to everyone to take a moment to pause and reflect. Think of one challenge you have faced, either big or small, that had an impact on you. It could be something personal, professional, or even a small hurdle you overcame in daily life. Perhaps it made you stronger, more patient, or more compassionate, because that is the essence of today's lecture. I request Mrs. Lata Daniel, Associate Director of VT International, COO of JDFS Business Solution, and Trustee of Jethro Trust, to deliver the lecture on What If Jethro Hadn't Been Born? What if Jethro hadn't been Jethro? We look forward to hearing your insights, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Interesting topic. What if Jethro hadn't been born? I think even yesterday when I was in the office and I met one girl in the office and I was asking her, will you be coming for the lecture? And she said, it's very interesting topic. I want to hear what is going to be shared here. So, so what if Jethro hadn't been born? The first thing is, if Jethro would not have been born, we would not be in this room. 10 years past his demise, partnering with Vivanta, talking about his life for the upliftment of society. Now, a lady who was been working in our land near Kerala, she was a new hire. She came and she was working. And I was just wanting to be engaging in conversation with her, trying to understand her life, her family, and she in turn was trying to understand me, my family. And I got to know that she was a widow and she didn't have children. And then when she asked about my family, I talked to her about my 2 children, Rhoda and Jethro. And when we talk about Jethro, it goes without saying, we talk about his special needs, his special abilities, and also the fact that he lived only 19 and a half years. So I shared that. She paused, she was thinking, and I could see her processing it in her mind. And then she said to me, wouldn't it would have been better if Jethro would have passed away within a month or 2 of his birth, instead of having him for 19 and a half years with you being a burden to your family? And I really appreciate that she was able to speak her mind, be frank about it, because generally people think all these things, they don't speak it out. And I paused for a while because I was also thinking about it. And I remember I told her, if Jethro had not lived for 19 and a half years, I wouldn't be what I am today. The world, the society around we live in would be much poorer because of it. We would have lost a great contributor. While journeying with Jethro, I've had such instances many times. Many people have seen us with different eyes, and especially him in different ways. I have had people, well-wishers and even strangers, come to us and talk, even in front of Jethro, saying, why didn't you scan? Why didn't you eliminate this difficulty that you are carrying in your arms? But I've also seen some people looking at him and saying, this is a God-sent angel into your house. Temple Granton, who was an academician, who was also an autistic person, said, if I could snap my finger and be non-autistic, I would not. If I could snap my finger and be non-autistic, I would not, because autism is part of who I am. And this resonates with me and my son Jethro. I would not have my life any other way. My life truly has been impacted by having him in my home. It has changed me in many ways. I believe difficult situations in life is given as an opportunity for you to become the best version of yourself. The 19 and a half years for me was like a character building. It built my faith, it built my patience, it made me resilient, it made me hopeful, and it made me joyful. Having faith, it's not that I didn't have faith in God before having Jethro, but my faith increased to another level. Because when we found out when he was 8 months old that he was special, he needed one or the other, and he was screaming. And we didn't know whether it was his stomach was aching or his head was aching or what was wrong, but I just prayed. And faith only helped me to take care of him. Faith only helped me to know that someone is there with me in the unknown future, which was unfolding, which I did not know what is going to happen. And I learned to be more patient. Now, patient is not something that I had earlier. And because when we used to feed Jethro, I was the one who was primarily feeding him. He would have sensitivity around his mouth. And the first mouth would be out in no time. And I had to again clean him up and again feed him. And that required patience, because I had to go according to what he is wanting to do and not according to my own timing. And it was no fault of his, so I cannot be annoyed by that. And that taught me patience in different situations in my life where I had no control over many situations, and I had to be patient. I had to wait. I became more compassionate and empathetic towards people around me who are facing different situations. We as a family did not give up on Jethro. In spite of his challenges in his body, we never thought less of him. I remember Daniel holding him and calling him champion of the world. Not just once, not just twice, but all the time. And mind you, it was much before he even started communicating. I have learned not to give up on anyone, being hopeful always. If we had given up on Jethro, what a tragedy it would have been. As a family, we became very close-knit and were keen on serving others around us. Even when the children were young, we used to take them to the various orphanages. We were closely associated with Pandita Ramabai Mukti Mission, which is in Khergaon near Pune. We used to travel over there. Jethro Bhai has been with us even when we have gone to Dharmapuri to be with the village children who were needing help. Now, even there, when we wanted to go and start the work, people were wondering why we are coming here. Why are we wanting to start a work? They couldn't understand. But when they saw me along with Jethro, they felt someone kindred spirit, someone having the same issue that they are having, someone who can understand them better. And then they were able to speak freely, and they were open to physiotherapy for the children. They were open to have counseling for the parents. And Jethro has traveled with us everywhere, whether it was Dharmapuri, whether it is Menanpara, whether it is Dengnikote, wherever we went, he came along with us. And those are not short distance, mind you, it is long distance, and he would be sitting for long hours. And I'm sure it has not been comfortable for him, but yet he did it for the love of the people. He was more concerned about people than his own physical disability. Because he said in one of the bookmarks which you will receive, says, I find the mutilation of the human spirit more limiting than physical disability. So for him, his physical disability was nothing. He was more concerned about the others. And recently on Monday, we had visited Kalhati, where we had commenced some work for the skill development of the women in that village. We were teaching them tailoring through the Jethro Skill Development Center. And we had a teacher over there, and 8 women are learning tailoring. And we went and met them, and I could see the happiness on their faces, that they are learning something new, they are doing something new, they are coming out of their house and they are learning some skill. And I was thinking that if Jethro was not there, this thing wouldn't be happening. There would be no skill development center. And the community would have been so much more poorer. And the fact that we have Jason Special Center in Palakkad is also because of Jethro. And we have had so many people who are very, very talented over there in that center. Their talent would have been buried, would have been hidden. And I remember a little girl told her mother, Mom, Jethro lived just 19 and a half years, but he has done so much. And his life still speaks to people even after his death. So here I would like to say the length of your life doesn't matter. It is the depth of your life. Al Etmansky, in her book, The Power of Disability, discovered that people with disability have been major players throughout history. If we were to take away their contribution, you wouldn't recognize the world. People with disability have given the world far, far more than the world has given them. Many have asked me, if I would live my life again, would I choose the same life? And I have no hesitation to say that I will choose the same life, in the same family, and with Jethro, because he is the one who has made me what I am today. And even standing here before you talking, I believe is because I am Jethro's mother. Now, moving on to the second topic which I have to take is, what if Jethro hadn't been Jethro? Now, Jethro made it very easy for me to take care of him. Imagine having to take care of a person who is negative, complaining, grumbling all the time. But what is it that made Jethro so lovable and a sweet person? He had some very good qualities that made him who he was. And in this part, I would like to share some of them for us to hear, think about, and reflect, and even emulate. Jethro was an intelligent boy. He could see what is happening around him. He understood, though his limbs he couldn't move and do according to what he wants to do. And he had a sister who was running around, walking around, having friends, playing, going to school. And here was this boy in contrast, can't even get up to get a glass of water on his own, unless somebody gets it for him. In this kind of scenario, what do you consider a person will be? Won't he be bitter? But yet he wasn't bitter. He was always joyful. His situation would have made him the grumpiest person on earth, thinking that he got the short end of the stick. It is not fair. So many times we say, it's not fair what we got. What did he do to get a kind of life like this? In contrast, if you see him, he would be always smiling and laughing. All three of us, myself, Daniel, and Rhoda, we used to vie to go and wake him up in the morning. Why? He had the most joyful face in the mornings. It was as if he was saying, what a lovely day. What a beautiful morning. I'm looking forward to today. What he had to look forward to. But this, in spite of the fact that he couldn't get up from the bed on his own. Imagine being trapped in a body like this, like Jethro's, and still be at peace. He was. He accepted the lot that was given to him by God and made the best use of his resources. That reason he never complained or grumbled was because he was peacefully reconciled to God and to his own purpose on earth. And this was what made him joyful and smiling. I talked about patience, which I developed because of taking care of him, but he had lots and lots of patience because he had to wait for everything. Whether it was for food, whether it was for drink or bathing or taking him out or even taking him out of the bed, he had to wait. Unless somebody picks him up, he can do nothing. And he was willing to wait. He loved going on road trips because we felt going by car was the best way to travel with him. We have traveled from Mumbai, Gujarat, Udaipur, Bangalore, Trichy, Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, everything with him. And we had to be careful what kind of food that we give him along the way. Nowadays on the highways, you see a lot of food courts and a lot of good restaurants. But in those days, the highways were just being constructed and we had to look for good dhabas. We didn't have GPS to add stop for what is the nearest restaurant. We had to keep going and seeing whether some restaurant will come or not. And he wouldn't fuss, but wait patiently. And you can be very reactive if you had a body like that and not being able to do anything. What are your thoughts that can run into your mind if you were trapped in a body like this? What are the vibes that you give out to people around you? His vibes to all of us, people around, was just joyful. Peace, happiness, that was his vibe. His love for God was immense, and so was his love for people. In 2008, he said that he will uniquely serve God and mankind in his generation. His concern was more for the mutilation of people and wanted to direct all our energies to them rather than to himself. And his loving nature was not restricted to just family, friends, but it went beyond to those who really were in need, who were in despair, and who needed help. When we started work in Dharmapuri to help the special need kids, He was there. He traveled with us. And he was meeting with those children. How many of us will be concerned about someone else's need? For us, our problems, our issues is always bigger than anyone else. Now imagine a world when everyone is concerned about each other around them, whether it is friends or families or colleagues. Won't the world be a better place? 100% I would bet it would be. One poet who came and spoke during his memorial service after his funeral mentioned the fact that most of the poets portray the dark side of life. They portray the fact of life as it is today. Dark, despair, hopeless, war, strife. But Jethro's poem was very different, she said. It was full of light, full of hopefulness, full of direction. If you read Jethro's poem, which is in the Don't Mess Around, which you would have got a copy of it, it is talking about God. It is talking about love. It is talking about honesty and its importance. It's talking on humility. It's talking about your mind where the seed of your thought occurs first. He also talks about nation because he was concerned about our nation. So he could have just been within himself, but he's talking a lot about various things. And what we should be doing for the human emancipation, living in this world which is dark, full of despair. What can make the society a better place and always hopeful? Those were the things that he was mentioning through his poem. He was very other-centered and service-minded. Now, if you were a child who had this difficulty and you have parents, you want all the parents, everybody's attention to be on yourself. You don't want them to be having attention on others. But he was the one who initiated the trust. He encouraged us to open the trust. And he had a heart which was of gold because he was keen on helping others. He was not selfish. And that made him a gem of a person. He would never miss a chance to go to Pollachi or Ooty or wherever we are working. He demonstrated his love by serving others. And not a soul would be untouched after they met him. He inspired people just by his presence. I was the only caregiver for him while we were in Navi Mumbai, assisted by my husband Daniel and Rhoda, my daughter. And when we came to Coimbatore, I continued to work from home. But very early, we found a person who could assist him when I was away at work for short periods of time before his meal time. And he was the one who encouraged me to start going to office. Initially, I was very hesitant to do that because I was wondering if I'm relegating my duties as a mother of a special need kid. But he assured me and told me to go. I used to drive back and forth multiple times to ensure that he's fed, as I was the only one who could feed him. In this act of his, you can see him being so unselfish. He did not just want his comfort, he could have wanted me at his beck and call 24/7, be at home, take care of me, you don't have to go anywhere. But he was wanting to ensure that I too have the opportunity to work outside. And if Jethro was not Jethro, and by that I mean if Jethro did not have these characteristics, then our family would have been a lot poorer. And by that I do not mean by money. The richness of life that we experienced with Jethro when he was endowed with all these characteristics would not have been possible. The outcome of Jethro being Jethro is the Jethro Center for Consciousness and Character, which is conceived to propagate the importance of human consciousness and character. Let us not just listen to this story of Jethro with just sympathy or pity or even with just admiration for him. This is not about him. This is about us, you and me, sitting right here. Are you willing to step up and take efforts not just to emulate, but also propagate character formation in ourselves and in people around us? Let us not leave this room without committing to our bit of what we want to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing yet another meaningful perspective. And thank you for sharing your experience on how you raised Jethro and being example for us in this today's generation. Of course, ma'am, we will take steps to propagate and transform our characters. And thank you for example for us. And we now move on to a very special and significant moment of this evening, the launch of the first Jethro Center for Consciousness and Character, which is Jethro C3. We invite Mr. Manoharan, Director of Project Southern India, National Federation for the Blind, to share how he sees the value of Jethro's life. His recommendation to keep alive the values that Jethro represented and recommended for the good society has resulted in the conception of the Jethro Center for Consciousness and Character. Sir, we welcome you.
Good evening, each and everyone. Our beloved friend and our supporter, Daniel sir, Lata ma'am, and staffs from Bite International and partnership with this Bijanta, members from National Federation of the Blind and Lion members. Once again, I like to say my good evening. Friends, so I am comfortable in Tamil because I know English, Hindi, Malayalam, Tamil, some extent Kannada and Telugu also. But if I want to express my feelings and what we are going to do, that will be comfortable for me in Tamil. Will you please? அதான் மனிதன் ஒரு பிறப்புக்கு மனிதனுக்கு ஒரு பிறப்பு இருக்குதுன்னா அதனுடைய பலன் மற்றவங்களுக்கு போய் சேரணும் அப்படின்றது தான் கடவுளுடைய விருப்பம் அப்படின்னு நம்ம கொஞ்சம் டீப்பாக யோசித்தோம்னா நமக்கு தெரியும். சாதாரணமாக நம்ம எல்லாம் பேசுவோம், பாடுவோம், நான் ஏன் பிறந்தேன், நாட்டுக்கு நலம் என்ன புரிந்தேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த பாட்டோட போகாமல் நம்ம ஜெத்ரோனுடைய கவிதைகளும் சரி, இப்போ அவங்க தாயார் நம்மோட பகிர்ந்துக்கிட்டதும் சரி, அது எவ்வளவு ஒரு டச்சபிளாக இருந்ததுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நமக்கு தெரியும். பொதுவாக டிசபிள் பீப்புளுக்கு அவங்களுடைய சைக்காலஜி இஸ் டோட்டலி லிட்டில் பிட் டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஃப்ரம் நார்மல் ஒன். மற்றவங்களோட இது சைக்காலஜி கொஞ்சம் வேறுபட்டதாக தான் இருக்கும். அது நான் பல இடங்களில் போகும்போது சொல்லுவாங்க, ரொம்ப கோவப்படுறாங்க, ரொம்ப கத்துறாங்க சார் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அப்போ நான் சொல்லுவேன், அவங்க ஏன் அப்படி கோவப்படுறாங்க, ஏன் அப்படி கத்துறாங்க, ஏன் அந்த மாதிரி அவங்களோட ஆட்டிடியூடுன்னு சொல்லும்போது அவங்க எதிர்கொள்ளுகின்ற பிரச்சனை, ஒரு இடத்துலேருந்து இன்னொரு இடத்துக்கு போகும்போது எவ்வளோ பிரச்சனைகளை அவங்க எதிர்கொள்கிறாங்க, சொசைட்டி அவங்கள எப்படி பார்க்குது, அவங்க எப்படி உணர்கிறாங்க அப்படின்றத வச்சு தான் அவங்களுடைய சைக்காலஜி அவங்க கொஞ்சம் சேஞ்சாக இருக்கிறாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நான் அது பிஎட் கிளாஸ் எடுக்கும்போதும் சரி, எம்எட் கிளாஸ் எடுக்கும்போதும் சரி, நான் அவங்களுக்கு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுறது உண்டு. பட் Jethro's psychology is totally different. இப்போ அவங்க மதர் சொல்லும்போது அந்த தம்பிக்கு கோபம் வராது, எல்லாத்தையுமே அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்க படக்கூடிய ஒரு மென்டாலிட்டி, எது மேலே ஒரு வெறுப்பு வராத ஒரு இது, பசி எடுத்தால் கூட அது காட்டிக்காமல் இருக்குது. அது ஒவ்வொரு ஏர்லி மார்னிங் எந்திரிக்கும் போதும் அந்த குழந்தை சொல்கிறது, நல்ல குட் டே நல்ல ஒரு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அந்த சொல்கிறது மட்டும் இல்லை, அந்த பையனுடைய முகத்திலேயே இவங்க பார்க்கும்போது அப்போது அந்த குழந்தையுடைய சைக்காலஜி வந்து டோட்டலி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஃப்ரம் மற்ற டிசபிளுக்கு என்ன சைக்காலஜி இருக்குதோ அதுலேருந்து டிஃப்ரெண்ட் தான். இதையெல்லாம் நாங்கள் யோசித்து தான் வந்து ஜெத்ரோ இதில் வந்து ஒரு சென்டர் நம்ம ஃபார்ம் பண்ணி நம்ம இதை வந்து கொண்டு போகணும். ஏன்னா இப்போ ஜென்ரலாக சொல்லும்போது டிசபிளுக்கு வந்து இதுதான் இப்படி கோவப்படுவாங்க, வெறுப்பாங்க, கத்துவாங்க, இது அவங்க கோஆப்ரேட் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க அப்படின்றதெல்லாம் உண்டு. அது ஓரளவுக்கு உண்மையும் கூட தான். ஏன்னா ஐ ஆம் பீயிங் ஏ டிசேபிள் எனக்கு தெரியும். அது இல்லைன்னா வந்து 100%, ஏன்னா சைக்காலஜிஸ்ட்டு அவங்களும் அனலைஸ் பண்ணி தான் சொல்கிறாங்க. நாங்களும் அந்த ஃபீல்டில் இருக்கும்போது எங்களுக்கும் தெரியுது அதனுடைய அதனுடைய இஷ்யூஸ் என்னன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. பட் அப்படி இருந்தால் கூட இந்த குழந்தையினுடைய மனநிலை மனோதத்துவம் வந்து டோட்டலி மற்ற டிசேபிள் மாதிரி இல்லை அப்படின்றத ரொம்ப ப்ராக்டிக்கலாகவும் ஃபேக்டாகவும் சொன்னாங்க மேடம். அதுக்கு உண்மையிலேயே அவங்க எங்களுக்கு இந்த அளவுக்கு அவங்க she tried her level best to make what he is எங்களுக்கு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு மேக்ஸிமம் ட்ரை பண்ணுறாங்க. ஸோ இதையெல்லாம் நாங்கள் மனசில் வச்சு தான் நாங்கள் இப்படி ஒரு சென்டர் ஒன்று பிளான் பண்ணி ஜெத்ரோனுடைய திங்கிங்கும் வெளியில் கொண்டு போகணும், அவன் தாட்ஸும் வெளியில் கொண்டு போகணும், புரிய வைக்கணும். அதே மாதிரி எவ்வளவு இது வந்து ரெண்டு செக்டாருக்கும் யூஸ் ஆகும். நம்பர் 1, நார்மல் செக்டாருக்கு வந்து ஒரு டிசபிள் சைல்டு என்னென்ன திங்க் பண்ணால், எப்படி இருந்தால், எப்படி அவன் லைஃப் இதை பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்றதும் ரீச் ஆகும். அதே நேரத்தில் நம்ம யார் டிசபிளோ நமக்கு நம்மளே கண்ட்ரோல் எங்களை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கிறதுக்கும், அந்த கோபத்திலிருந்து மற்ற வேகத்திலிருந்து அந்த ஒரு வெறுப்பிலிருந்து கொஞ்சம் நம்மளை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிவிட்டு, ஏன் ஒய் கான்ட் பி ஒரு ஜெத்ரோ வந்து பல டிஃபிகல்ட் இருந்தும் கூட ஹீ இஸ் வெரி ஹாப்பி. ஸோ ஒய் கான்ட் பி நம்மளது ஒரு 1 or 2 டிசபிள் தான். ஒரு பிளைண்ட்னஸ் தான், அல்லது மனநிலை பாதிக்கப்பட்ட காலைக்கு பாதிக்கப்பட்டது ஒன்று தான். ஸோ அந்த ஒன்றை வச்சுக்கிட்டே நம்ம சமாளிக்க முடியாமல் நமக்கு சொசைட்டியில் நமக்கு எப்படி நம்மளை அப்ரோச் பண்ணுறாங்கன்ட்டு, எப்படி எங்களை வாட்ச் பண்ணுறாங்க, எப்படி அப்சர்வ் பண்ணுறாங்கன்னு நல்லா தெரியும். பட் அப்படி ஒரு டிசபிலிட்டி இருந்தே நம்ம இவ்வளோ இது பண்ணும்போது ஜெத்ரோவுக்கு வந்து மல்டிபிள் டிசபிலிட்டி இருந்தும் கூட ஹவு ஹி வாஸ் ஹாப்பி, அதுதான் நம்ம யோசிக்க வேண்டியது. அதை இன்னும் நம்ம டீப்பாக ஸ்டடி பண்ணணும். அதுக்காக தான் இந்த சென்டர் நாங்கள் வேணும்னு விரும்புகிறது. ஜெத்ரோ என்ன சொன்னார், என்ன பண்ணார் அப்படின்னு பேரண்ட்ஸ் என்ன பண்ணாங்கன்றதை காட்டிலும் அவங்களுடைய இது எப்படி இருந்துச்சு, இது எப்படி சொசைட்டிக்கு இன்னும் அந்த மாதிரி பல ஜெத்ரோஸ்க்கு வந்து இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சுச்சுவேஷன் அவங்கள கொண்டு வரணும். அவங்க தே ஷுட் நாட் ஃபீல் பேட் தட் நம்ம இப்படி ஆகிட்டோமே அப்படின்ற வரக்கூடாது அப்படின்றதையும் கொண்டு போகணும். அதே நேரத்தில் சொசைட்டிக்கும் நம்ம ஒரு லெசன் டீச் பண்ணணும். அதுக்கு நாங்கள் அதை பிளான் பண்ணி தான் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சென்டர் வேணும்னு சொன்னோம். ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், எனக்கு ஒரு 65 வயசு ஆகிடுச்சு. ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் லைஃப்பில் ஒரு 15 வருஷம் கூட, இப்போ ஒரு 50 வருஷம் அந்த ஃபீல்டெல்லாம் இருக்கேன். கொஞ்சம் ஆக்டிவாக இருக்கும். ஜென்ரலாக வந்து சொன்னால் நீங்கள் வருத்தப்படுவீங்க. சாதாரணமாக வந்து டிசபிள் குழந்தை இருந்தால் பேரண்ட்ஸ் வந்து வெளியில் சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. அது அவங்க வந்து ஒரு பெரிய பேர்டனாக நினச்சி அவங்க அடுத்த ஒரு பையனுக்கோ அவங்க வீட்டில் இருக்கிற குழந்தைகளுக்கோ அலைன்ஸ் கிடைக்காது, அல்லது ரிலேஷன்ஸ் வந்து ரெஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க அப்படின்றதெல்லாம் மனசில் வச்சுக்கிட்டு அந்த குழந்தை இருக்கிறதே, அந்த குழந்தையாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, வளர்ந்துக்கிட்டா இருந்தாலும் சரி, நாங்கள் பல இது பார்த்துருக்கோம். நான் இப்போ சில ஃபோன் பண்ணி கேட்பேன், என்னப்பா பண்ணுற வீட்டிலான்ட்டு. இல்லை சார், அக்காவுக்கு அலைன்ஸ் பார்க்க வந்திருக்கேன், ஆனால் ரூமில் வச்சு லாக் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இதுதான் சுச்சுவேஷன் டில் டுடே, அப்படி தான் இருக்குது. ஆனால் நம்ம எந்த அளவுக்கு ஜெத்ரோனுடைய திங்கிங்கும் தாட்டும் நமக்கு ஒரு லெசனாக இருக்குதோ அதை நம்ம கொண்டு போகணும்னு நினைக்கிறோமோ அதே மாதிரி தான் நான் ஐ யூஸ்டு சில இப்போ என்னோடய ஃப்ரெண்டு ஒருத்தர் இருக்கார். அவங்க அந்த பையனுக்கு இப்போ 22 வயசு ஆகுது, 21 வயசு ஆகுது. அவனும் லைக் ஜெத்ரோ தான். நான் அவங்க வீட்டுக்கு போகும்போது உண்மையாகவே அவங்க அதாவது ரொம்ப நம்ம மேடம் கேர் எடுத்து பண்ணுற மாதிரி தான். பட் எனக்கு என்ன தோணுன்னா அவங்க நம்ம என்னை விட சின்னவங்க தான் ஏஜில். எனக்கு அவங்க காலத்தொட்டு கும்பிடணும்னு தோணும். ஏன்னா பொதுவாகவே தாய்மைங்கிறது நான் இது வந்து மேடம்க்கு நான் இது பண்ணுறதுக்காக சொல்ல, இப்போ இப்படி ப்ளீஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்காக சொல்ல. ஏன்னா பொதுவாகவே தாய்மைங்கிறது வந்து ரொம்ப ஒரு அர்ப்பணிப்பு தான். அதில் நமக்கு யாருக்கும் நம்ம எல்லாம் நம்ம பார்க்குறோம், நம்மளும் அம்மாவனுடைய இதிலேருந்து வந்திருக்கோம், நமக்கும் தெரியும். பட்டு இந்த மாதிரி மதர்ஸ் எல்லாமே வந்து அது லதா மேடமாக இருக்குன்னு விரும்ப மாட்டாங்க இன்னும். பட் சொசைட்டிக்கு சொல்லி தான் ஆகணும். ஸோ அவங்க எல்லாம் வந்து நாங்கள் எங்கள் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், நான் சதாசிவம் சார் மற்றெல்லாம் பேசும்போதெல்லாம் சொல்லுவோம், நம்ம அம்மா எல்லாம் அம்மாக்கள், ஆனால் இந்த மாதிரி குழந்தையோட அம்மாக்கள் வந்து அம்மாக்கள் தெய்வத்தை விட மேலே அப்படின்னு தான் சொல்லுவோம். இது வந்து நான் இதில் ஏன்னா நாங்கள் வந்து டைரெக்டாக ஒன்றும் ஃபீல் பார்க்குறவங்க, ஒருத்தர் நேருக்கு நேர் பார்க்குறவங்க. இப்போ நம்ம ஜெத்ரோ எப்படி வளர்ந்தான் நாங்கள் இவங்க பார்த்தது கிடையாது. நாங்கள் 4-5 வருஷமாக தான் சாரோட அட்டாச்மெண்ட்டு. ஆனால் அவங்க சொல்கிறது நமக்கு முழுசாக நம்மளால் இது பண்ணிக்க முடியாட்டி கூட, உணர முடியாட்டி கூட, ஆனால் ஒரு 50-60% ஒரு தாயினுடைய இது வந்து நமக்கு தெரியுது. இதையும் நம்ம வந்து வெளியில் கொண்டு போனால் தான் இன் ஃப்யூச்சரில் வர்ற குழந்தைகள், அதாவது என்னமோ இப்போ நம்ம எங்கிட்ட கேட்பாங்க நிறைய பேர், நாங்கள் இந்த டொனேஷன் ஸ்கீமெல்லாம் நடத்தும்போது எங்கிட்ட கேட்பாங்க, நீங்கள் எவ்வளோ நாளைக்கு டொனேஷன் வாங்குவீங்க, எவ்வளோ நாளைக்கு வாங்குவீங்கன்னு கேட்பாங்க. அப்போ நானும் சதாசிவம் சார்லாம் சொல்லுவோம், அதாவது பிளைண்ட்னஸ் உலகத்தில் இருக்கிற வரைக்கும் நாங்கள் டொனேஷன் வாங்கித்தான் ஆகணும், சர்வீஸ் பண்ணித்தான் ஆகணும் அப்படின்னு நாங்கள் சொல்லுவோம். ஸோ அது மாதிரி இந்த ஒரு ஜெத்ரோ அல்லது இன்னும் எனக்கு என்னுடைய ஃப்ரெண்டோட குழந்தை அப்படி இல்லை. இன்னும் நம்ம கேனட் அஷ்யூர் இனிமேல் இப்படி மாதிரி குழந்தைகள் வராது, பிறக்காதுலாம் சொல்ல முடியாது. ஸோ இனிமேல் பிறக்கக்கூடிய, இப்போ இருக்கக்கூடிய, நமக்கு தெரியாமல் இருக்கக்கூடிய குழந்தைகளுக்கும் நம்ம இந்த சென்டர் வந்து ஒரு 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 கேர் பண்ணுற மாதிரி ஒரு கேர் சென்டர் மாதிரி இருக்கும். டெஃபினட்டாக நாங்கள் டேனியல் சார் வந்து டேனியல் சார் வந்து சொல்லும்போது, சார் இதுதான் செய்யணும்னு இல்லை, உங்களுக்கு என்னென்ன தாட் வருது எல்லாமே சொல்லுங்கள், நம்ம மேக்ஸிமம் ட்ரை பண்ணுவோம். நம்ம ட்ரை பண்ணுறது விட மற்றவங்களை இன்வால்வ் பண்ணுவோம். நம்ம ட்ரை பண்ணுறதுக்கு வேறு ஒன்று எத்தனை வருஷம், நம்ம 5 வருஷம் 10 வருஷம் 20 வருஷம், நான் என்னுடைய ஏஜ் கணக்கு பண்ணி சொல்கிறேன். ஆனால் இன்னும் இப்போ பின்னாடி வர்ற யங்ஸ்டர்ஸு அவங்கள நம்ம நல்லா ட்ரெயின் பண்ணி இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சொசைட்டிக்கு, நம்ம டிசபிள் செக்டாருக்கு மட்டும் கிடையாது, நான் ஏற்கனவே சொன்னேன், இந்த மாதிரி சென்டரும் இந்த மாதிரி சர்வீஸ் எல்லாமே டிசபிள் செக்டாருக்கு மட்டும் கிடையாது, நார்மல் செக்டாருக்கும் நார்மல் சொசைட்டிக்கும் அவசியப்படுது. நாளைக்கு எங்கள் சொல்லுவாங்க, நாங்கள் இங்கே இப்போ கோவத்தில் கூட சொல்லுவாங்க, உங்களுக்கு வேலை கொடுத்தா என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க, நீங்கள் உங்களால் என்ன வேலை செய்ய முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கேட்குறாங்க சார். அப்போ எனக்கு தோணுச்சு, உன் வீட்டில் அப்படி ஒன்று ஆனால் தான் உனக்கு தெரியும்னு சொல்லலாம் தோணுச்சு, ஆனால் நான் சொல்லல அப்படி சார் இருப்பாங்க. சொல்லல ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். யார் வீட்லையும் அப்படி எதுவும் ஆகக்கூடாது, நம்முடைய நோக்கம் அதுதான். பட் அப்படி ஆகிட்டுன்னா நம்ம தான் கேர் எடுக்கணும். இவங்க என்னுடைய எலிமெண்ட்ரி ஸ்கூல் சார் சொல்லுவார், அதாவது ஒரு பிளைண்டாக பிறந்துட்டா அந்த பிளைண்டு வந்து அவன் எங்கள் ஆர்கனைசேஷனில் 18 வயசான மெம்பர்ஷிப். ஆனால் அவர் சொல்லுவார், ஒரு பிளைண்டுன்னு பிறந்துட்டா அவன் NFBயோட குழந்தை தான்பா, அவனுக்கு சர்வீஸ் பண்ணுங்கப்பா நீங்கள் அப்படின்றவார். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி எந்த டிசபிள் குழந்தை எப்படி பிறந்தாலும் அதை நம்ம வந்து நம்முடைய பொறுப்பு தான், அதுக்கு சர்வீஸ் பண்ணணும், அது நம்ம கடமை. அதுக்காக தான் அப்படி ஒரு மல்டிபிள் ஒரு இதில் தான் நாங்கள் இந்த சென்டரை நாங்கள் பிளான் பண்ணுறோம். நிச்சயமாக டேனியல் சார் வந்து எனக்கு அது இன்னும் பொதுவாக உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், நான் சொன்ன ஒரு குழந்தைய வந்து வெளியிலேயே கூட்டி போக மாட்டாங்கன்ட்டு. ஆனால் இப்போ மேடம் சொல்கிறாங்க அந்த ஜெத்ரோ வந்து அவங்க போன இடத்துக்கு எல்லா இடத்துக்கும் கூட்டி போயிருக்காங்க. இப்போ ஒரு பிளைண்டை கூட்டிகிட்டு போகிறது ஈஸி, வெரி ஈஸி. கையை பிடிச்சி கூட்டி போனால் ஓகே. அவங்க நாங்களே எங்கள் கூட்டிகிட்டு போகிற விட நாங்கள் ஒரு 2 ஸ்டெப் வேகமாக தான் வைப்போம். இப்போ ராதிகா மேடம் எங்களை கூட்டி போகிறாங்கன்னா நான் 2 ஸ்டெப் முன்னாடி வைப்போம், ராதிகா மேடம் ஒரு ஸ்டெப் பின்னாடி தான் இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி அதே மாதிரி இப்போ டெஃபெண்டம் பார்த்தா அவங்களுக்கு தெரியவே தெரியாது, அவங்க டிசபிளா என்னன்னு தெரியாது. ஆனால் ஜெத்ரோ பார்க்கும்போது இப்போ நான் என் ஃப்ரெண்டு சொன்னால் அவர் இங்கே ஒர்க் பண்ணுறாரு, சென்னையில் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறாரு. அவங்க கேரளா, அந்த லேடி அவங்க மதர். அப்போ என்கிட்ட சொல்லுவார், சார் இன்றைக்கி அவங்கள அந்த பையனை தூக்கி குளிக்க வைக்கும்போது கொஞ்சம் லைட்டாக ஸ்லீப் ஆகிடுச்சான், அழுகிறாங்க சார்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அந்த ஈச் அண்ட் எவ்ரி மூமெண்ட் அந்த பேரண்ட்ஸ் எப்படி ஒரு அவன் மேலே கோபப்படாமல், ஒரு வெறுப்பு வராமல், தன்னோட குழந்தை தான் இப்போ நம்மளே வந்து 2 முறை 3 முறை கேட்டால் குழந்தைய அடிச்சிடுறோம், சும்மா இருக்க மாட்டேன் அப்படின்ட்டு. அப்படி இருக்கும்போது சாதாரண குழந்தையவே நம்ம அடிக்கிறேன், நான் கூட அடிக்கிறேன். அப்படி இருக்கும்போது இப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு குழந்தைய எடுத்து அந்த பேஷண்ட்டு நான்லாம் சொல்லுவேன், நான் சாதாரண சொல்லுவேன், ஜெத்ரோ அதாவது ஜெத்ரோவை காட்டிலும் அவங்க பேரண்ட்ஸ், டேனியல் சாரும் மேடம் சரி, அவங்க பாப்பாவோட சிஸ்டரும் சரி, நான் வந்து அவங்க இந்த வீடியோலாம் ஜெத்ரோ சொல்லி இதெல்லாம் கேட்டிருக்கேன். என்னுடைய சிஸ்டர் வந்து என்னை வந்து நான் எனக்கு ஃப்ரெண்டு மாதிரி தான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்போ அந்த ஃப்ரெண்டு மாதிரி இருக்குன்னா அப்போ அவங்க எந்த அளவுக்கு ஜெத்ரோவோட வந்து இணக்கமாக ஒரு லவ் அண்ட் அஃபெக்ஷனாக. பொதுவாகவே வந்து வீட்டில் சண்டை நடக்கும், அண்ணன் தம்பிக்கு அக்கா தண்ணி சண்டை நடக்கும். பட் ஜெத்ரோ என்ன சொல்கிறேன் அப்படின்னா, என்னுடைய எனக்கு ஃப்ரெண்டு மாதிரி தான், சிஸ்டர் வந்து எனக்கு ஆஸ் எ ஃப்ரெண்ட் அப்படி. அப்போ அந்த அளவுக்கு வந்து அவங்க அஃபெக்ஷன், அந்த இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஒரு லிமிட்டேஷனே கிடையாது. வி கேனாட் மெஷர் இந்த குழந்தைய வளர்த்துறதுக்கு, இந்த 19 வயசு கொண்டு வர்றதுக்கு அவங்க எந்த அளவுக்கு லவ் அண்ட் அஃபெக்ஷன் கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க, எவ்வளவு ஒரு டெடிகேஷன் சொன்னால் சார் ஒத்துக்க மாட்டார், ஏன்னா திஸ் இஸ் அவர் டியூட்டின்றார். ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் நாட் டெடிகேஷன் பட் லவ் அண்ட் அஃபெக்ஷன் எவ்வளவு அந்த குழந்தை மேலே காட்டியிருக்காங்க. அந்த லவ் அண்ட் அஃபெக்ஷனும் இவங்க நேற்று சாரோட உட்காந்து நானும் சதாசிவம் சார் ராதிகா மேடம் உட்காந்து பேசிகிட்டு இருக்கும்போது நேற்று நான் டேனியல் சாரப்பா எனக்கு தெரியும், ஏன்னா ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் வந்து எவ்வளவு அதுவும் அந்த அக்கௌண்ட்ஸில் ஆடிட்டிங்கில் லைனில் இருக்கும்போது எவ்வளோ பிஸியாக இருப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு தெரியும். ஏன்னா நானும் இருக்கட்டும், சதாசிவம் சார் ஆகட்டும், சாதாரண ஃபீல்டிலிருந்து சாதாரண சின்ன வெண்டர், சின்ன இதிலிருந்து பிளானிங் கமிஷன், ஃபைனான்ஸ் கமிஷன், செக்ரட்டரி லெவலில் உட்காந்து நாங்கள் பேசும்போது அவங்களுடைய டைமுடைய வேல்யூ ஒன்று தெரியும். அதே மாதிரி டேனியல் சார்கிட்ட பேசும்போது நாங்களே கொஞ்சம் ஒரு ஹெசிடேஷனாக இருக்கும், 5 நிமிஷம் ஆச்சு 10 நிமிஷம் ஆச்சு சாரை ஃப்ரீயாக ஆக்கணுன்ட்டு. ஆனால் அவர் வந்து அரை மணி நேரம் 25 நிமிஷம் 30 டெலிஃபோனில் கூட 15 20 30 நிமிஷம்லாம் பேசுவார். எனக்கே கஷ்டமாக எங்கள் ஒய்ஃபை சொல்லுவாங்க, ஏங்க நீங்கள் பாட்டில் மற்றவன்கிட்ட பேசிகிட்ருக்கீங்கன்னா, ஏன்னா அவருடைய ப்ரொஃபஷன் அந்த மாதிரி. அப்படி இருந்தாலும் இது எல்லாமே அவங்க ஜெத்ரோவோட கற்றுக்கிட்டு தான் நினைக்கிறேன். இந்த பேஷன்ஸ் இது எல்லாமே தே லேர்ன் ஃப்ரம் ஜெத்ரோ தான். இந்த ப்ரொஃபஷனல் இருக்கும்போது இந்த அளவுக்கு நம்மளோட உட்காந்து நான் ஒரு ஆஃபீஸ் போய் உட்காந்தேன்னா ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் கம்ஃபர்டபுளாக உட்காருவேன், 15ஆவது நிமிஷம் அப்படியே கொஞ்சம் அப்படியே எந்திரிக்கிற மாதிரி இருக்கும், யோசிப்பேன் எந்திரிச்சிடலாமான்னு சொல்லிட்டு. பட் அவர் இன்னொன்று சிடவுன்பார். அந்த அளவுக்கு அவங்க த லேர்ன் ஃப்ரம் ஜெத்ரோ. அவங்க ஜெத்ரோட்ட லேர்ன் பண்ணிவிட்டு தே ஆர் டீச்சிங் எஸ். அதான் தட் வி வாண்ட் டு சே. ஸோ இதெல்லாம் வந்து அந்த ஃபேமிலியை அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்ணுறதுக்காக ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்காகலாம் கிடையாது. எனக்கு என்ன பொறுத்தவரை ஈவன் சிஎம் மீட்டிங்கில் போனால் கூட நான் சிஎம் பாராட்டியெல்லாம் பேச மாட்டேன், சாருன்னு தான் சொல்லுவேன். அது சிஎம்மாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, அது நான் ஸ்பீக்கராக இருந்தால் பார்லிமெண்ட் ஸ்பீக்கர் சிவராஜ் பாட்டீல் சார் எல்லாம் உட்காந்து பேசும்போது சாருன்னு தான் சொல்லுவேன். ஐயான்லாம் சொல்கிறதோ அல்ல ரொம்ப இதெல்லாம் கிடையாது. கொஞ்சம் நாங்கள் என்ன அப்படின்னா கொஞ்சம் அப்படி தான் இருக்கும். நாங்கள் ஆர்கனைசேஷனாக இருக்கிறனால கொஞ்சம் அந்த போராட்ட குணம் அப்படி வச்சுக்கலாம், அப்படி தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ அப்படி அந்த ஒரு இதில் நாங்கள் வளர்ந்ததுனால நாங்கள் அப்போ இந்த பாராட்டி பேசுகிறது ரொம்ப அப்படியெல்லாம் கிடையாது. நாங்கள் என்ன உணர்கிறோமோ அதை சொல்லுவோம், அதை ஷேர் பண்ணுவோம். ஸோ டெஃபினட்டாக நேற்று நாங்கள் சார்கிட்ட நான் ஒரு மீட்டிங்கில் ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ் தான் பேசினேன். பட் அது ரொம்ப அவர் சீரியஸாக எடுத்து ரொம்ப சின்சியராகவும் எடுத்து நேற்று ஒரு ப்ரோச்சர் ஒன்று போட்டு காட்டினார். நாங்கள் படித்து எங்களுக்கு வாசித்து காட்டினார் சார். முதல்ல ராதிகா மேடம் படிங்கன்னாரு, அப்புறம் அவரே படித்து காட்டார். அதில் படிக்கும்போது நான் போய் சொன்னேன், சார் இது எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப சேலஞ்சாக இருக்குது சார். நான் வி ஆர் ஃப்ரம் ஒரு நேஷ்னல் லெவல் ஆர்கனைசேஷன் தான், டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்லேருந்து ஆல் இண்டியா லெவல் இருக்குது, வேர்ல்டு லெவல் இருக்குது. அப்படி இருந்தும் கூட இப்போ 50 வருஷம் எங்களுடைய எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் ஆயும் கூட நேற்று சார் போட்டது படிக்கும்போது எனக்கு நானே சொல்கிறேன், சார் கொஞ்சம் சேலஞ்சாக இருக்குது சார். சாதாரண நாங்கள் சொல்ல மாட்டோம், லெட்டஸ் சி அப்படின்றவோம். ஆனால் நேற்று சார் எழுதுனதை பார்த்தா அப்படி சார் இது சேலஞ்சாக இருக்குதே சார்னு. டோன்ட் வரி, வி ஆர் வித் யூ அப்படின்னாரு. ஸோ என்ன சேலஞ்சஸாக இருந்தாலும் நம்ம எல்லோரும் சேர்ந்து மீட் பண்ணுவோம். இந்த சென்டர் நோக்கம் நாங்கள் டேனியல் சார்கிட்ட நாங்கள் எது சொன்னாலும் அவர் இது முடியாதுன்னு சொல்கிறது கிடையாது, ஃபண்ட் இல்லைன்னு சொல்கிறது கிடையாது. நாங்கள் அப்படி போய் உட்காந்து போய் என்ன பண்ணலான்னு கேட்டால் நாங்கள் சொன்னோம், 10th 12th பாஸ் பண்ணுற பிளைண்ட் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டுக்கு பப்ளிக் எக்ஸாமில் 1st 2nd 3rd வாங்குறவங்களுக்கு நம்ம என்கரேஜ் பண்ணணும் சார். அடுத்த சொல்லிவிட்டு அந்த 2 months ரிசல்ட்டு உடனே அவங்க ஸ்டாஃபுங்களை கூப்பிட்டு இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க அப்படி. நேற்று நான் சதாசிவம் சார்கிட்டலாம் பேசுவேன், சார் இப்படிப்பா முடியுமான்னு கேட்டேன். சார் இருக்காரப்பா தைரியமாக செய்யலாம் பண்ணார். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி தான் நிச்சயமாக இந்த சென்டர் சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லாக நடத்துவோம் சார். 100% we all with you. We can carry out without any struggle, without any trouble, we can carry out this with this center. With this I conclude my speech. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Manoharan sir, for unveiling this initiative and for your deep thoughts. Moving on with the program, we will now proceed to the final lecture of the day titled, What Value is There in Trials and Tests in Human Life? The topic touches every person regardless of age, background or season of life, whether emotional, financial, physical or spiritual. All of us have walked through something that stretched our faith, right? Sometimes in hardship we may ask, why me? Why always me? Why it's happening to me? Did any of you ask like that? We used to think, right? Yes. I have asked many times, seriously. Even when we feel uncertain, the truth remains. Trials are not signs of God's absence. They are often proof of His work within us. Today, we have the rare privilege of gaining insights into how such tests influence human lives from a remarkable thought leader. It is my distinct honor to invite Dr. Daniel Victor, co-founder and managing director of VT International, managing partner of JDFS Business Solution and founding trustee of Jethro Trust, to lead us in the enlightening lecture. Sir, we warmly welcome you.
Good evening. It's all been said as to what we are all about, trying to understand the mystery of life, mystery of pain and suffering, trials, tests, including temptations. I think is well enabled by the fact of our own resource of the mind, reflection, that we are quite able to figure out, because we are not left just as humans to experience all what we experience, all of us experience. But we have capacities within us to respond to the challenges that we may have all along our path. There's no one here who could say that we have no problems, trials, tests, and even temptations. I refer to the human capacity for thinking or reflection, which is very important here. And what I bring to you is also a great deal of deep thought about life and existence. When you think about ourselves the way we all have been created, just the fact that we are finite naturally lays upon ourselves limitations. If we had infiniteness and we had all the solutions and all the knowledge, then maybe our situation was different, but that's not how we have been created. That's a grand design. So the limitations in itself pose a serious problem for us, because in terms of our own capacities, in terms of time, in even terms of our abilities, there are limitations. So looked at it from one perspective, that in itself can be frustrating. And one may say, even that is a trial, but that's the reality of human existence. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, or not even what will happen the next moment. That's the reality of our own existence. Now, I'm not too sure, considering the fact that so much of our emphasis has been upon our body and our mind. But we may even, as humanity, forget the other aspects of who we are as constituted beings, that we have a soul as well as spirit. We regard ourselves as highly educated, super literate, all to do with aspects of the mind you. And we are so emphasized on our body, we know a great deal about how to maintain health and our own bodily well-being. Yes, indeed, we talk about so many different skills that our children should acquire. But where is the soul? Where is the spirit? It's a big question of our times. We talk about this ability when we think about a boy who lost his capacities on his physical side. And we have, of course, government departments that are supposed to support such children, because they could otherwise be a neglected community. And so there is a lot of emphasis in order to enable these children who are disabled with their physical capacities and bring them up to a level of an ability that we think we should grant them, and we think that that definitely is responsibility. But the soul, which is man's own fundamental capacity for sense of an identity and a sense of purpose, is lost. And we don't think about it. And the spirit, which is so essential for our own lives to be so exuberant and directed, if it is maintained, for it to really work towards our advantage, is not a subject that we talk. We may talk about religion, but somehow this invisible aspect of ourselves, the soul and the spirit, tragically is lost. It's not our conversation. But as I said right from beginning, we are already constrained by the fact that we are limited in whatever may be the spheres that we may talk about. But then, as if that is not enough, we have inflicted upon ourselves also a serious neglect, which I said has got tragic proportions. Now we know of humankind that as sure as the sparks of fire fly upwards, so sure is the problems that every one of us have. I too intermingle with a lot of people. On the face of it, you may not never know. But if you find their trust and then you have an engagement with them, you know the paths that they are crossing. So much filled with all different types of problems. So that is again the fact of humanity. Now we can't neglect it. And that's why we went and we stayed together. We are trying our own bit in order to bring to man in remembrance this forgotten aspect of the most important thing. So if you were to look at Jethro's life too, he did have a good mind, but never could go to school. He never studied. I know doctorates are sitting here in this audience. He never went to school. His arms were restricted, his leg was incapable of functioning the way it should. So I'm asking the question again, a matter of thought. We can just pass away, remembering what he did, but I think it is an occasion for us to think what it is that was the enabler for Jethro. And I believe he focused on his inner identity. He focused on his sense of purpose. And he drew from the power of the Spirit within him and aided by God who is Spirit. God is Spirit. God is unseen. But God is present. And he wants to naturally give scope and ample opportunities for those that can recognize him, but we have lost the language. The mind and the body have become more important for us, and therefore we have estranged ourselves alienated ourselves. We become so busy with ourselves that we have forgotten the most important aspect of existence, the Atma. And that is very sad and tragic. If today you and I wouldn't really recover what we had lost, I'm afraid we'll continue to deplete as a society. We wouldn't really raise individuals who will stand tall, notwithstanding of all their physical limitation, and choose to learn to uniquely serve as Jethro is doing even today, 10 years after his death, in being the means of an inspiration to Sir Manogar, and reminding us that what Jethro stood for, as he said, he's been associated for 4 years. But that boy, who focused not so much on his body, as his mother said, he could have said, you give me 24/7 assistance, support. You owe it because you brought me into this world. He didn't speak that language. Our education is not assisting us. And if we as citizens remain silent, we can anticipate the further downfall of our society. Who will build if you and I fail to bring to bear upon human experience what is most vital? So as I said, our limitations is there. And we have trouble always. This 100, whether you are talking finance, you talk company life, even in the company you have a problem. Somebody is jealous. Somebody doesn't want you to go up. They pull you down. In communities there are problems. We have so much to continue to really become the means for our own trials and temptation. And as if it is all to do with others, believe me, we ourselves are generating wrong and wrongdoing. So we ourselves are our own enemies when we only focus on our body and our mind. Because we don't have another dimension. The power that comes from the force of the Spirit. And I am here reminding, God is Spirit. And when you exclude Him and treat Him lightly, the creative force of God can become our today's reality. And this boy, I recommended to a guy who actually worked with me, whom we thought had so much of an ego. And I said, I recommended a book for him to read, and I said, I will engage with you in collaborative learning. Let's address this problem. So after some time, I got to him and I asked him, how is it going? He said, sir, I went through it, I don't have ego. But how many of us are getting undone on account of one another's ego? And Jethro is reflectively writing about the poverty of pride and the richness of humility. He was a friend of God. God is Spirit. He taught the life of God and teaches the life of God. And Manogar sir is saying, We stand with you in whatever way. We need this desperately. And he said it goes to two sectors, his words. Not only to those that are disabled, but the so-called abled also need this, and it's the need of the hour. You know and I know our life is brief. Of course, sir was assured, he was saying, I'm 55, maybe another 25, 30, he can carry on, but not beyond that. But life is still brief. And life is uncertain. Are we conscious of this when we function? If tomorrow we have to leave this earth, what is it that we have done? Good enough as a legacy that we leave behind. Jethro lived only 19 and a half years. You could imagine then how he might have really worked in order to have become so productive influentially. He composed his poetry when he was 13 years old. And the burden that he conveys in his poem, in the booklet that has been distributed, represents an evolved life. So the path of our life is not merely for us to really live only by our mind and our own body. We have to bring into action our soul, our identity. Who am I? Why am I on this earth? What am I supposed to do? And what is my purpose? And what is my own personal gifting, talent that I have? Can I convert it into service to humanity while I am pursuing existence? The formula is lost out on humankind. And I've also lived long enough and I know it's been on for decades. The same perilous mindset. But the interesting thing is, somehow, the design of our own lives is in that fashion. So I make a proposition today. Obviously, we all agree problems are there everywhere, challenges are there, trials are there, temptations are there, everything is there. Agreed or not? We agree. Now, if you don't develop capacity to respond consciously to this reality of humankind, then we will only react. And that reaction will be producing that kind of a state of mind where you may end up justifying, I have reasons to be irritated, I have reasons to be angry. You don't understand my frustration. I have a whole lot of it. And you magnify to justify your current conduct. Whereas, if only you would tap into the reservoir of your own capacities, of who you are totally as a person, including your own sense of your identity as human. You are not here merely to work and survive. You are here to create and produce that society can be enriched. So unless you really awaken the other dimension of yours, whether society chooses to collectively ignore it or not, you are in peril, because challenges of this kind can come uninvited. And it could be anybody. I could think my challenge is so great, but in true reality, maybe There are many others who are going through much more severe, challenging, psychologically, socially, emotionally draining experiences. But I think the amazing thing about God, our Creator, is created us with capacities to respond. And He is saying, I am willing to be with you. If only you give me a place to be beside you. Have we got ears to hear? Or are we still lost in our own self? It's a question that we need to answer. Sir said that it is assuring. He said this after he said that you put me in a very challenging assignment. After you read what the center is. And so he said, he heard me say, Sir, I am with you. And he said, Sadasivam sir said, to give him further encouragement, Daniel sir irukkrare, and we can go and do it. See the consolation and comfort that comes from companionship. So what we and my family experience through the trials, you may call it, the tests of our life, the trials are constantly what really are proving to be our challenges, attempting to really enhance us to greater stature. In the absence of those trials, your stature won't go. Your face may look better. Your body may look stronger. And there are people waiting to take your money and improve it without a sense of what matters to you. That's why we need to be silent and be still and know that there exists in that silence someone who cares for you. He didn't leave you as an orphan. But we are so complicating our lives by only working almost like a car driving on two wheels alone. Can you imagine? A car driving on two wheels. We are all like that by and large. We think we can reach our destination. We won't reach our destination the way we were intended to, just because of the fact that we are not really factoring the other two wheels, the soul and the spirit. Now, as I said that if you are unable to really see the dimension of life by the sight that soul and spirit grants you, you will only react to situations, react to challenges. Everything will be an irritant. Everything will be a frustration. And that's when you begin to talk a language, why it is only me who is suffering. The person who has got all four, he won't act that language. Because he is seeing in it a deeper purpose of improving him to become an extraordinary human with great capacities of empathy, care, love that little boy depicted. He finished his innings and he went away, wishing us well, that at least we will discover what he tried to convey to us. Because he learned the art, even in the absence of the so-called education, of entering into a dimension of life that also embraced the aspect of the human soul and the human spirit aided by God's Spirit. Now, the beauty about it is, as I said, temptations is also another problem. I don't know, God has left some attractive things in this world. Everything seems flashy. And the marketers can make even the drab ones into flashy. And when I see the flashy, then suddenly our hearts change. And what we don't want to buy also we buy. Because it's flashy. We somehow have a weakness for flashy. And then what we generally then do is, because we don't have so much of sense, because we are only caught up with education and muscle power and beautiful, we don't have sense. So we end up saying, he tempted me. We blame somebody else. Now the truth of the matter is, if you had good sense, you wouldn't have allowed your own selves to be tempted. Because temptation is perilous. Somebody may say, come, let's go dance, drink, forget your wife, let her be there. You fall to that temptation. But then you will say, my friend called me. But how could your friend call you unless you invited your own self in response to his calling? You could have easily said no. And if you had a friend like that, you could avoid and stay somewhere else and do something else. No. So what ends up happening, our body and its appetite, our sense of pride, we do banda things, Some friend has got a car which is flashy, and you possibly also know that he borrowed a lot of money and he won't bought the car, but you like to go with that friend because you also will be regarded by the world as flashy, and you get some credits, you think, foolishly. And then you go, you allow your own selves to go for the reasons of your own weakness. Let's not blame others. We are quite often responsible, but we have lost our own clarity as to where the problem is lying. So we get further confused, and as if all our other cost trials and tests, there are enough for people to pull us down, to rightfully talk about you, to wrongfully accuse you, because they want to go one up. As if those problems are not enough, you have also a bundle of your own selves creating problems for you, because you have not cultivated enough insights to guard you and blame others as attractions and fall a prey to and become a victim of so many things. I've had in my life two individuals. One of them was an alcoholic for 35 years. Believe me, he told me his uncle at his teenage introduced alcohol to him, and he lived as an alcoholic for 35 years. And I had association with another man. He possibly was little better. He was 25 years alcoholic. Right. I knew them well. And we all agree getting somebody out of alcoholism is not easy. But in these two instances, there are testimonies today, one in Chennai, one in Kunur. One man has left his addiction 18 years back. Another man whom I met recently on Saturday has left his addiction 15 years back. And you know what's their job today, apart from whatever they are doing for their living? They are talking to alcoholics to help them to see the foolishness of alcoholism. One man is doing it in Chennai, and another man is doing it in Kunur. I personally believe, you convert your own vulnerability to all of these limitations, temptations, into a fountainhead of bringing life to others when you align your life with the life of what you ought to be, alive to your soul, and responding in your spirit to higher aspirations and ideas, notwithstanding whatever anybody else is ending up doing. The pain is real. You can't wish it away. Nobody can. Irrespective of whatever may be your status, economic or whatever. You have losses, you have suffering, you have pain, you have finally death. But that is also a reality. We also lost our son, uninformed. One early morning we think that we will go with him to visit a family, and we are about to get him ready, and my wife then says that it looks like he doesn't have life, and when I go and he has no life. The boy whom we cheerfully put into the bed the previous day. 19 and a half. You've given him all the love. And as he said, we lived with hope. And here he was, the boy was no more. But we didn't allow that event to draw us back. I remember I told my wife, we did whatever we ought to do. God decides. He only decided that he came in this world. He has a right to take him away. He has taken away. Let's move on. I was sitting in a hearing in RBI in Delhi the second day after his death. And the RBI officer in a quasi-judicial kind of hearing said he wanted some more papers. So I said, sir, I will get it to you. Give me a week. So he said, isn't a week too long? So I said, sir, I recently lost my son. I need some little time to get it to you. Kindly permit. He asked me, when did you lose your son? And I said, day before yesterday. Life moves on. We don't have to be necessarily reacting to situations that have been provided in your life quite intentionally in order to cultivate you to greater stature, greater perseverance, greater ability and possibilities. You can't be just ordinary. Your raw material of who you are, with all its deficiencies, needs to be enhanced. And how can it be enhanced? Through trials, temptations, tests. And therefore, what we are typically required to do is, if they come, you don't go out and welcome it necessarily. But if it comes, receive it well, knowing it will accomplish in your life what you can't accomplish yourself. Because we need a lot of our own transformation in order to reach higher and higher states of existence. So Dr. David Hawkins, in his levels of consciousness, he ends up saying, after careful study, how our bodies represent, even in its muscle tone, as how it represents our state of being. Being strong or weak based upon the state that you maintain in your mind while it tests. Your body, your muscles reflect your state. So if you are angry and you are having a jealous heart, according to his studies in his levels of consciousness, it will be indicated that you are weak. Your muscles will indicate. It's a science. And you know what grade he gives for those types of things? Less than 200 out of 1000. 20%. So very often we are surviving like this, mastering in this, and we'll keep telling ourselves, that day I was very angry, now I have become mellowed down, but you are still angry for no reason. So you are not evolving. So let's commit ourselves to become more reflective. Don't just rush because everybody is saying, then you are a weakling because you are not having a position of your own. If today I had followed the beat of the world, I wouldn't be what I am today. I heard that sound. From the unknown. Lots of things. I grew up in Chennai, noisy city. Of course, worse than what it was then. But still, it was a big city. You can hear a lot of noises. Lot of people with lot of their philosophies and ways of life, including this very depleted existence. Eat, sleep, survive. Eat, sleep, survive till you die, including such depleted noises you heard so commonly. I examined it's not worth to live that life. But then, I need to make sure that God will be comfortable with me. And in order for God to be comfortable with me, I think our own madness we have to give away and welcome Him. Because we can't carry all those ugliness, we carry our anger. In the context of spirit is purity. Purity then means very simply that all of those things that don't really measure up to high standards, obviously which we have a plenty, you need to get out of our lives. The sound of the unseen. This cacophony of people around is very easy to hear. But we can't afford ourselves to drown in that noise. If today we want to be a people who grow to stature, to extraordinariness, to whether it's Indian or whether it is American or European, humanity is by and large going through a crisis of great neglect. And we need a revival. We need ourselves to be aroused. We need, as Sir said, put our hands together and awaken society, awaken humanity. Now, I did travel recently at Kolkata and saw all those great men's museums. Vivekananda, Rabindranath, Subhash Chandra Bose, Mother Teresa, William Carey, and the likes. Our Indian leaders saw oppression and they rose, highly educated individuals, willing to sacrifice, to even go into prisons for the sake of the freedom of the nation. And what has happened today to society? Our bureaucrats, many of them are sitting and asking for, and we are like slaves and we are saying we are living in freedom, currently only oppressed by so-called privileged bureaucrats. Shameful. Why? The moral power of the nation has decayed. We can't blame others. That's why I'm encouraging ourselves to make a devotion in our quiet hearts before the Almighty. That we will turn away from the foulness of our life. We will turn away from our own complacency. we will reject all that hinders man's growth and advancement into greater state of being like God in character, and we will permit with joy whatever may be the trial, whatever may be the pain, whatever may be the suffering. We will permit with joy if it comes to us and embrace it in order for our own selves to be molded and remolded, to become greater and greater, that we will shine as stars in whatever may be the little time that you have. And that will be a great value as an outcome of the effort that was taken today. And for your own silent listening, I'm glad. But I am also reminded there can be many meetings we can sit and listen, nod our head, take our notes, and walk away without any change. And that will continue to be the sadness of our history if we remain like that. May God, who brought us, designed us in this format, with risks even within our own selves by our weaknesses and vulnerabilities, even through individuals that are around us, who will be possibly like spikes poking you here and there, unless some special people are there who live without any problem, like Madam. We all have. But let us not react. Avan adicha na adikran. How many families are broken, sir? How many tears are being shed in the homes of individuals? Mothers and fathers who are lovingly raised their children today have their children crying in their homes, having beaten and sent away from their own married homes. They may not come and tell you their stories, but the plight of ourselves because of our baseness of our character, which we didn't allow to raise by hearing that unseen voice, is today hurting our society greatly. And I don't want to be remaining in that fashion till I die. And maybe also contribute to that resolve that together we will fight. Together we will lift us from this morass that we have got into. We are not sitting here to blame. We are wanting to bring correction. And may we continue from strength to go, young or old, that we may go with a resolve in our own hearts, with fire in our bellies, because the need of the hour is great. There's no point talking about the problems of society or even writing about it. It needs action. It needs action with outcomes. And may our strengths be multiplied as a result of careful listening here and convert it into strong men and women and children, that God may bless our nation and our society. And thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those powerful and insightful words. As we reflect on today's message, may we remember the most important thing about existence is the spirit and the soul, not body and mind. May we also remember a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. I repeat, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Our greatest transformation comes only from hardship. What feels like a disruption may be a redirection towards a better path. Yes, trials leads to a purpose. Trials are not signs of God's abandonment. They are the tools of His refinement. Every trial carries a lesson. Every test shapes the character, and every struggle has the potential to lift us to a stronger, wiser, and more meaningful version of ourselves. We will now listen to Jethro's song, written and composed by the American songwriter Robert J. LaCosta.
ocean now beyond his reach. A sudden chance of meeting with a kind old man. Now a snorkeling set in his hand. I want you all to see the mysteries of the sea. I want your heart to swell, so you live to tell of schools of fish of every kind, all the colors you wish. Your mind, I want you to see below the surface of me. A young boy swimming with his head down gets us to look up and all around. If he lends you his snorkeling mask, will you be up for the task? I want you all to see the mysteries of the sea. I want your heart to swell, so you live to tell of schools of fish of every kind, all the colors you wish, swimming in your mind. I want you to see below the surface of me. Oh, don't judge a book by its cover. Turn the pages to discover the dreams of backwards and blue, and God and Him and you. Oh, I want you all to see the mysteries of the sea. Yeah. I want your heart to swell, so you live to tell of schools of fish of every kind, all the colors you wish, swimming in your mind. I want you to see below the surface of me.
Thank you all. Please be seated. And we hope you will all turn the page to discover. To conclude this evening, I invite Ms. Rini Maria, Sales Manager of Vivanta, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you for joining us today for the memorial lecture. It has been an absolute pleasure to co-host this event with Vitae International. I would like to express my gratitude to our esteemed guests who have supported us in making this event a reality. Your presence has truly made a difference, and we are honored to have you with us. To our co-hosts, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel, we thank you for your timeless efforts and dedication to making this event a success. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to our future collaborations. To our team, thank you for your hard work and commitment to ensuring every detail was taken care of. And to all our guests, thank you for being a part of this special evening. We hope you have enjoyed this event, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you once again, and good night.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of VT International and Vivanta, we thank each one of you for your presence, your attention, and your support. As we leave today, let us hold on to this promise. God doesn't remove every trial, but He walks through with us. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. May we go forward, strengthened, encouraged, and confident that there is purpose in the process, there is growth in the testing, and there is victory on the other side. Have a wonderful night, and thank you, everyone, and may God bless us.